think we counted up to 7 counters, and then
Was that for Southwest?
No, that was for Cutter, I think
Okay.
it was. Because we submitted 2-3 original offers, didn't get much of a response, submitted one good enough, and we got the counter out of that, and we had played the back and forth game. We did our walkthrough, and then we had to fight back and forth with some amendments. And that was actually for Kayola. Kayola kept a level head, said, here's what makes sense. He didn't get mad at it, didn't get angry at it, didn't get frustrated, and said, you know what, I'm done. Even though it was kind of a hassle.
So you almost have to have patience, because a lot of times when you're dealing with a wholesaler, it's easy, right? You make an offer, wholesaler says yes or no, and you move on. With the MLS, you're dealing with agents, some more educated than not. So there can be a lot of back and forth negotiation. I know we had, I don't know if Alan is on here or not today, but I know Alan had a similar situation where he was kind of going back and forth, and it's just like, just have that patience. And if it fits into your schedule, just know it might not happen immediately, but it just takes a little bit more time. And I also feel like just kind of patience, but also courage to persevere in that follow-up too.
And treating the other side with, some dignity. There's people on the other side, and a lot of times on the MLS there's always a client on the other end. You're not dealing directly with the agent. And I feel like talking to the agent, we kind of sometimes forget about the other side of it. And what's the reason behind them selling? Because there's always a reason behind the reason. So like in this case, it was a landlord that was fed up, needed to get out of it, this and that, and needed a certain number for it. And it took a decent amount of conversation to get that out of the agent. But as soon as we figured that out, okay, here's what we can do. And we got it, I think it was 25 under after however many days of negotiating through it. So
2,500 or 25,000?
25,000, sorry.
That's a significant discount out of the MLS.
Yeah, it was actually I don't think I wrote that one down. It was $1,450 Cutter.
I was gonna pull it up. Yes, $1,450. Yes, Rachel.
Real quick, for the sake of the recording, can you introduce Jacob real quick?
Yeah, sorry, Rachel. I thought you had started that a while ago. All right. So we have Jacob with Magnolia Real Estate here, who's going to be talking to us about finding deals in the MLS. So one of those deals that we are talking about right now is on 1450 Cutter that came from the MLS. There was a lot of back and forth negotiation on it. And I'm going to share my screen to just kind of show what the house looked like. So this is over in South County, right?
This is, I think, Dogtown.
Dogtown, okay.
Right.
2-bed, 1-bath, or 3-bed?
I think 2-bed. I can't
Slab.
remember. The hard part about this is we didn't know a ton about the house aside from the pictures because it was tenant occupied. And they would not do any showings without, and you can see they gave us limited pictures to work with.
Yeah.
But it was tenant occupied. It was not able to be shown without an accepted contract. And the numbers at 140 didn't make sense to go in blindly. And they wanted special sales as is. So we were able to give them that. And with FasterFunds contingency, we had a little bit of a leeway to back out. So yeah, we got it. They wanted 140, got it for 115. Even after we walked in, we had to do a little bit more negotiations. And go from there.
And days on market were 30 days. So they took a 25 grand price reduction after just being listed for a little bit. I do think it makes a difference when it's figuring out those loopholes that you can get when you can't walk a house until you have a contract, but making sure you have an out just in case you do walk it with limited photos and knowledge to make sure you have an out or can renegotiate price after you're in there. So for this particular deal, did you make an offer of 115 and then walk it? Or you said there were a lot of back and forth. Did you make an offer closer to list and then negotiate after being in there?
We actually came in originally around 110 in our initial offer. And they told us basically, no. I think we may have even started lower than that. We had to submit a few normal offers.
Before you even got in?
Yeah, because we stopped getting responses at a point after the first offer. And we, just started communication via text and calls, and I think that's what did a lot of good. Because through that, it was like, okay, well, you guys want 125, we came in at 110. Let's move that down a little bit. Okay, where can you go? Okay, we can move up a tad, this and that. And I think we ended up landing at 120, because they said that's said and done, that's it. Went under contract at 120, and we had no right to negotiate. After walking it though, we realized, hey, like there's a lot more to this than we thought. So we can, at 120, it does not make sense for us anymore. And that was a huge conversation because it does not make sense for us. We have no rights to renegotiate. So, hey, we're probably going to back out unless we can move this downwards a little bit. So we actually did an amendment to the contract and dropped that $5,000. So that's where that other $5,000 came off.
And I think like, when I listen to Jacob, I deal with a lot of real estate agents. A lot of you guys are agents on here. And I think how many of you are gonna like keep following up and texting to figure, to get that deal all the way through. So, something that I want you all to hear on the call is that if you're working with an agent to try to find deals in the MLS, or if you are an agent trying to get a deal out of the MLS, just keep following up is key, and communicating, with people, because that's ultimately how you got that deal done.
Yeah.
And then I know another deal that you worked with was on Southwest. Was Southwest even listed in the MLS, or was that just because of your reputation with working with agents that they called you on that one?
So
I know it was tenant occupied too.
Yes, there were a few on Southwest. I can't remember
the weird one, on the one that stunk really bad with cats, and
yes,
it was connected to the Taekwondo studio thing.
Yeah, so that one, I have had conversations with the agent, super sweet lady, and eventually made friends out of it. So I'm actually taking her to lunch next week.
And was that deal listed in the MLS, or did she?
It was listed, and they were actually under contract at a higher price.
Okay.
So
the borrower or a different client had been under contract?
A different client.
Different agent.
Yep. Well, they ended up finding a bunch of water in the basement, sewer pipe bust, something with the sewer lateral possibly. So I was actually the first one she called. And she said, you know what, like the way you're talking, like, let's get you in to walk it. Let's get you a backup offer in place. So we ended up walking it, submitted a number that made sense with that counter, or the backup. Winner, I think we did a counter offer and got it lower. Yeah, I don't remember what the address was.
I know, I have the address, so just have to know my search criteria.
But it ended up being a lot more than expected.
Yeah, so this one, I think that also.
There it is.
Share my screen again. So this is another. I just want to show you guys too that like you can find deals in the MLS, and just because they ask you a price doesn't mean that's what you need to offer. So this is another deal. The original asking price was $95,000, and Jacob got this one down to $60,000, just at a number that made sense. And it had been listed on the market for 71 days, had the offer that the buyers freaked out and went through, and also just having that relationship with agents in the industry who are like, hey, we trust this agent, we know they'll get it done.
Yeah.
But this was one of the most bizarre houses I've walked, just because it's connected to this other building that's not part of the house that this client bought. So it didn't make any sense at all for a flip, but it did make sense for this client to have a midterm rental on it. But it's just a unique city house. But if Jacob knows he has the right client who is the right kind of buyer for it, and I wish there's no interior pictures.
There's not.
But this house like stunk really bad. And from in my opinion, a showing perspective on the MLS did not do it any justice, because people would walk it and like, those houses that the smell just like hits you right when you open the door and you're not even in the house. That was this house. Like you didn't even really want to open the bathroom door. or walk in the basement.
Yeah, no, and the agent, the tenant want to go down there.
Yeah.
A bunch of water and mud was down there. It smelled like cat pee and mold and a bunch of fun stuff. So if you usually smell that stuff, a lot of investors smell money. And I think the relationship with the agent did a lot of good here, because we ended up having to push closing back by 2 months. The tenant, they weren't going to evict the tenant for us. We had to work through that. We got her out before we closed. So having that good relationship, I just wrote that down.
Mike Salmon, you crack me up.
Yeah. The good relationship with the agent did a lot of good there.
And were you able, so the house was owned by a landlord. I feel like that's sometimes some of the best deals you get are landlord owned, that they're motivated to get rid of the property. Did the landlord actually evict this tenant or get the tenant out before you all closed on it?
Yes. So what we did is we said, hey, in one of the counter offers, you're going to evict them and you're going to follow through with it prior to closing. That would not work for them. So it was like, okay, what makes sense for you guys? Here's what makes sense for us. So we actually made a deal where within 5 days of closing, she should be out.
Yeah.
And this had to go through courts and stuff like that. So we had to push back closing, worked perfectly on our end because the tenant got out end of October.
So you got a price reduction of $35,000 and you got them to kick out the tenant so that by the time you closed or, the investor closed, this is Keola's deal. I don't know if he's on here. You had a house just to jump in. So I think to me, what I'm hearing is just like, just because people say certain things in their listings, it's all negotiable. So figuring out how you can negotiate to get the best deal so that it benefits you as the end buyer and investor.
Yeah, and I think being transparent and upfront with everything is the best way to go about it because you don't want to start on a bad note. So we started out saying, hey, here's what makes sense for us. What works for you? Let's figure this out as a team. Because I feel like everyone, me and her actually had a phone call today, and she's like, it's a dog eat dog world.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be like that. You can make a friend out of it and help each other out. Because at the end of the day, I have a client that wants to buy the house. They have a client that wants to sell the house. Our job is work as a team to get that done because you guys want out, we want in.
Yeah.
So how do we do that in the most reasonable way possible?
And I think just keeping that, I feel like the rapport with the agent is so important. Like I know it's easy for an agent to like annoy you. Or you're like, I just want to advocate for my client, but just keeping that good rapport throughout too helps because if, the agent likes you on the other end, they're going to be more willing to fight for your offers a little bit more to their client.
And she's actually, she just called me today. She's sending us a duplex. And that's where the report went. She's like, I got 5 more coming from the same landlord. They like the way you guys handle the deal. So hopefully we can do more. So we're trying to figure out, okay, what makes sense. And I wasn't even taking her lunch for that. I'm just taking her lunch because she's awesome. So, sweet little old lady and super fun to talk to.
Awesome. Well, I am curious what questions you all have. I feel like Jacob and I can just keep talking and showing you deals that he's done in the past, but are there any questions you guys have for him right now? You guys are always welcome to just like chime in to the conversation or put stuff in chat. But
Jacob, I got a question for you. Are most of the people that you're putting in offers, are they requiring proof of funds up front or not so much, or a little bit of combination, or what are you seeing on that side?
Are they providing proof of funds up front?
Required.
Yeah, is this listing agent asking you for your buyers proof of funds? Are they pretty adamant about that, or not too bad, or what's that like?
More often than not, yes. We've been able to get around it a few times with some conversation, as in like, hey, it's the weekend. I know you want offers on Sunday. I have either an expired proof of funds, or I can, give you my personal word that they are bankable for this. And if I can't get a hold of anybody, which has never been a problem with FasterFunds, you guys have always cranked out an approval when I needed it. But that conversation goes a long ways, saying, hey, I can get it to you on first thing Monday morning. They like to see that. I think it adds a lot of merit to it.
Very cool.
think a follow-up to that is, are you getting any pushback with putting in inspection periods or needing to take those out at all?
I think it really depends. I actually got a residential buyer under contracts and closed her last Monday. And they wanted special sales contracts, no inspections, everything like that. And we were actually able to flip that around to a residential sales contract. Just
Which then allowed you inspections.
and negotiations, and we ended up getting a whole new sewer lateral clean out, HVAC, water heater inspected and cleaned out and fixed up. So end of the day, we got at least 10 grand worth of work done. There has been some pushback with it, some not. I think with the market slowdown, higher days on market, because everyone was used to their house selling for 85 grand over, no inspections, no appraisal. Hey, here's my firstborn child to get the house. And I think we're hopefully, easing out of that time a little bit, which is allowing a little bit more room for inspections and that kind of thing. I haven't had a ton of that yet. We've been able on this one, I think we did an inspection, just off conversation, good rapport, and hey, they had their offer fall through and they put us in place. So if that answered your question.
I think, Jacob, what you said is, when we first started this call, Rick was talking about, the market feels a little squishy. It's, definitely softening. And I feel like that's a conversation I've been hearing a lot of people have. But you're saying you can make that be a benefit and a positive thing.
Yep.
Because it means people's expectations are changing. People's expectations are slowly evolving to, we no longer get multiple offers in the getting list. You might not get tons and tons of showings. So maybe for some of these as is or listings that clearly need some love, there might be more room to negotiate as people's expectations change with the market shifting.
Yeah. And like I've got a rehab listed right now out in Dogtown, and it's a great rehab. He did fantastic on it. It's actually Kevin's. And right now, we weren't having a ton of action. We we're getting some showings on and off. But if you look, I believe in a 1/4 to 1/2 mile radius with similar, features and all that, we are one of the second lowest priced out there. And again, if you look at the pictures, he did really good. I don't think it's about the house. I think it's about the market right now, just kind of slowing down a little bit, easing up, because there's 5 or 6 others listed going through the same thing. I've had 2 agents call me. One's listed on Devonshire, and I can't remember the second address. But they're like, hey, I know awkward phone call, but how's the listing going? Because we're not getting anything. So I think we're 20 some odd days on market. The other ladies was around 30.
And it has a garage, right?
It has a garage.
That makes no sense to me.
So I think it's just softening up. Interest rates are, going up than compared to 8 months ago. So people are kind of thinking a little differently. When money becomes more expensive, people become a little more cautious. Which with those longer days on market, softening up a little bit, it kind of eases up. So people are more likely to be a little more negotiable.
It does shock me that house, Kevin, I think you're on the call, but you did a great job with that rehab. And it is weird, the houses that we have sitting, because I think about the listings that we have right now with our borrowers that I know are active, and it's bizarre some of the stuff that just sits and it shows well. Like sometimes it's easy, like a house isn't selling because there's crappy photos, it's not staged right, it just, the listing isn't showing up super nice, or they way over listed it price wise. But then there's these weird oddities, and we have a handful of them right now, and I think it's just, the market's just changing, and you've got a great listing at a competitive price, and that's showing well, and it's just sitting for a little bit.
Yeah, and there's
so I'll jump in real quick. So with that house Lansdowne, I told Jake, I think yesterday or the day before, I go, all right, we'll leave it one more week until Sunday, and then I'm ordering all the furniture, and we're going to go back to the original plan of turning it into a midterm rental and stick with that option. So that's the whole point, is have multiple exit strategies. I was like, all right, we're good. We're in the house about 188. Let's list it at 240 and see if we can make some quick money. Otherwise, let's go back to turning into the midterm rental original plan. And we got an offer, so we'll see if it works out and everything goes smooth. Otherwise, yeah, we'll just stick with the midterm rental. And then we got a property like a mile away that should be done by the end of the week. So we'll get that one listed and go from there.
Yeah, that's a nice unit, Kevin. I saw that on the MLS not long ago, and I used to live in that area, and I'm shocked that hasn't flown off the shelf.
Yeah, I love that area. So actually, my wife wanted to sell it, so we get a little bit extra money in the pocket and everything, and I wanted to keep it. And I was like, all right, we'll sell it. But then now, since it hasn't sold, I was like, let's just take it off the market and go back to midterm rental, and we'll go with that route. But looks like we might get it under contract today.
Yep.
Good deal.
Good counter up.
Fingers crossed.
Jacob, I had a question. Can you see my camera, by the way?
We cannot. We see your nice
Thank
headshot.
God, because last weekend was a bit of a. Thank God, because last week was a bit of an unwelcome show.
You want to tell everybody what you did last
Michael,
week,
Rachel
Michael?
told me because I missed last week and I was dying.
I need to score
What's that? What'd you say?
Michael,
What did you
everyone
say?
missed it.
Oh, that's awesome. Listen, let's
I feel
get the
like
focus off.
you should tell the story just to give a fair warning to everyone who has their camera on so they know.
No, I think we're good. I think ignorance in this instance is pretty good. I think it is. Yeah. So Jacob,
Can I tell the story?
no, I'm good there too.
Somebody
I'm all
please
right.
tell the story.
No, it's good. Let's not build it up. Okay. Jacob, so are you, when you work in this area, or when you're doing what you're doing, are you specifically not contracted, but are you working with someone looking for opportunities on behalf of somebody, or is this something that you've kind of like a wholesaler in the sense that, you find some opportunities and then you contact someone who, like me, would, might be interested in certain areas and, might call me and say, hey, this looks interesting or looks good. Would you like to tact towards it? I'm kind of like a reconnaissance type of role. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah. So I think I understand. I do a little bit of both. I got some investors that sign agreements with me and say, hey, we like you. We want you looking for us and doing this and that. Or they don't sign any and they send me saying, hey, we want you to be our agent on this, or anything in between. So acting as a traditional agent, or, here and there, I'll find an off-market property. And from then on, I'll kind of figure out whether it be, hey, I only got one person that buys in this area that I know of, or somebody signed with me or something like that. That's kind of where that goes. Or just trying to figure out who I think would fit best with it. Because I know there's a few people that hate historic. Definitely not going to pitch a historic house to a non-historic person. So it really depends on the house and who's in the area or who's signed with me and everything in between. But I do a little bit of both.
Okay, it's interesting. Maybe we can talk in come January when I purge everything out.
Yeah.
I think, Jacob, I feel like you're very young, but you're very hungry. And I think that speaks a lot to how you've been able to build up so much business and how you've been able to find deals. But I would love for you to just share a story or two about how you have found some deals just by telling people what you do, specifically the ballgame one.
Okay. So fun, interesting one. There's a gentleman that works for Faster Freedom. Awesome guy. He's actually around my age. Him and his partner, which is a lender of mine, we're looking for their first rehab for quite a while. I showed him 5, 6, however many houses. Yeah. And I went to a baseball game. And a awesome guy named Jim taught me something called smile and say hi. So, and this has gotten me some business, whether it be from a Schnucks parking lot or to a baseball game. And started talking to this gentleman somebody introduced me to. Awesome guy, great conversation. He's a firefighter, and turns out he used to work for We Buy Ugly Houses. And they've got a whole system in place where you can, put money in monthly and this and that. And you'll kind of get some houses here and there. And I don't know if this is one of those or if it's just something he had, but it turns out he had a house he wanted to sell in Hazelwood. So started a conversation around that. I said, you might have a house you want to sell, and I might have a buyer that wants to buy it. And didn't exactly have these guys in mind at the time, but I mean, any opportunity is good opportunity. So I just wanted to walk it. So ended up putting everybody together, started the conversation. He wanted 115 for it, and it's completely off market. So there was no preset commission agreement, but ended up going back and forth for a while. Good conversation. And truth be told, he was a little skittish throughout the process because he was scared we were wholesalers. He was like, I'm scared that you guys are going to sell papers, this and that, which took a lot of conversation and a lot of reassurance to say, no, we are in this. So he wanted 115 for it, and we ended up going under contract at 85, and he's paying commissions. So I think we closed that one out, into May? No,
Yeah, June.
Something.
I don't know when we did that one,
But yeah, I mean, just based on a conversation in a random baseball game, found a house.
which I feel like, again, they were asking 115, and you got it for 85.
Yep.
Or your client did.
And he had a whole plan that if we didn't, go under contract by Tuesday, he was gonna get his team in there and start making it a rental.
Well, I see a tandem here. I see a team. See, you're young and hungry, and I'm fat and old. So that
I would
is
not
that
describe
bad?
you as
Is
fat
that
or
wrong?
old.
Huh?
I would not describe you as fat or old.
Oh, trust me.
So he's not fat or old, but he does have a little bit of lapses in memory sometimes. So I'm
Yes,
not going to say anybody in particular, but maybe this was Michael. But last week
Oh, Christ. Here we
on
go.
our call,
Jesus Christ.
Nick Deal was on the call, and
Christ for admission.
he started just laughing his ass off, and I didn't know why. But on our screen when it's shared, sometimes there's 2 pages. And fortunately for Michael, he was on the second page, so not everybody saw him. But he went into the bathroom while on a Zoom call and accidentally mooned the whole group.
Because he may have forgot to turn off his video.
He may have.
Jesus Christ.
You never know what you're going to get when you come to a FasterFunds lending mentorship call. Lots of entertainment here. Thanks for providing it too, Michael.
I was headed for the airport. It's not like I walk around the office doing shenanigans, but I was and the camera was on, and I didn't know how to work the phone. And I don't think I've ever actually heard Nick laugh so hard in my life.
I don't think I have either.
Just yesterday when I was reminded by my wife Alexis. It was awesome.
Very cool.
Well, does Rachel have it recorded? Is it going to be up on the Facebook page?
No, that's how I found out about it. I did go through the recording, but there is no evidence. I was grateful. Michael was extra grateful.
Better hope she didn't miss it.
No, definitely not.
Anyways, anyone have any other questions or comments or thoughts for Jacob?
Jacob, are you doing many offers with what I would call the traditional REO agents? Or are you finding more deals from homeowners or like banks or just, I don't know, when I used to buy out of the MLS a lot, often we were buying from banks or hedge funds or something like that. But what are you finding right now?
So honestly, banks have been a big one. I think, the COVID thing kind of threw a lot off. I think that's doing some damage there. Landlords are a huge one. Actually, more recently, I ended up getting on the phone with a lot of property management companies and saying, hey, you probably don't have anything you want to sell right now, but I just want to let you know, I'm an agent. I've got a ton of investors. I work with an investment firm that, kind of buy some houses in a little bit less than loved condition. And I'd like to be on your list, that if you guys ever consider selling something where a tenant wasn't fantastic and didn't treat it with all the love in the world, I would like to be on your list to be called, or how to help however I can. And that has done some good. I've at least had some leads out of it and phone calls. I don't know if I closed any off of that yet, but I've definitely had conversations and gotten to a few houses, which has been good. Homeowners are one as well, that and estate sales.
What do you mean by estate sales?
So the one I closed on Monday that wanted the special sales contract, was actually an estate sale.
So you just attended the estate sale and said,
Or not estate sale, I'm sorry. It was somebody passed in the family, kids took it
so
over.
it was like a probate.
Yes, sorry.
Deal, okay.
And walked it, figured out the story. They just wanted out. Got all the story. It was a bad situation. They wanted out. Ironically, my residential home buyer wanted it, and worked around it that way. So
You never know where you will find buyers
yep.
or sellers.
And that's something too. I've got a lot of good relations with neighbors.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, Kevin is great at making friends with the neighbors. I've had open houses done at that house, and I've had a neighbor come in saying, the construction team has been fantastic. The guy doing all the work that owns it is amazing. I have kids that might want to buy the house. Or I had one, I walked a bank foreclosure out on Bradley Avenue in Dogtown. Talked to the neighbor, sweet old lady. I actually had coffee with her on her porch for about 45 minutes, and gave her some business cards, just made a friend. And then a few weeks later, I had a couple call me saying, hey, we have no idea who you are. We were just told you were a sweet kid that was an agent, and we got your number from so-and-so, and might need help with something. So started running comps in our house and stuff like that. So neighbors are a good one as well. Treat the neighborhood with love and respect, and you'll more than likely get some good out of it, whether it be them buying the flip or making sure it's taken care of. And neighbors are your best friend. They watch the house for you. They know who's there. They know who's leaving. And they have people that wants to rent there, buy there, live there. And they know somebody down the street that they might not be a huge fan of, but has 18 broken down cars in their backyard that they need to get out of. So it's all good.
Yeah, I do think neighbors are powerful. It is funny. I walked a house actually with John Morgan, who had done a bunch of kitchens on this whole cul-de-sac, and now he's the buyer of one of the houses that he'll put another beautiful kitchen into. And Rachel and Brian and I bought a house, and the neighbors were all watching it. They knew it had sold, and they creeped on the county records, is all I can think of, to find Rachel's contact information. And did you tell the story last week, Rach?
Mm-hmm.
It's
It wasn't that they creeped on county records to see LLC name, and then they looked up the LLC to see who the registered agent was.
Yeah, to then contact Rachel via Facebook Messenger, and said, hey, we want to buy the house from you that you just bought. And it's because they lived, do they live a couple houses up the street?
Like 5 doors down.
5 doors down, and they wanted their daughter in the same neighborhood as them. So they were finding unique ways to find a deal for their kid in a tight market still. So you never know what will come from neighbors, but I think treating them with respect and letting neighbors know what you do is always beneficial. You never know what can come of it. Cool. Brian, you look like you're going to say something.
Oh, I got a couple of things. We're running out of time, but Jacob, that was awesome. Thanks for participating with us today. Can we, you did a very awesome job. Let's move over though. Nathan Dorr had a property that he was, he put through in the chat. I thought it would be good. You want to just talk about it real quick, Nathan, just to see if anybody else on the call happens to be interested?
Certainly. You guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, so it's right across the highway, Highway 70 from UMSL. It's in Normandy. It's not an area I typically buy in, but man, I drove this subdivision and I'm going to canvass the entire subdivision. I don't know what it is. Their houses all look good. They're smaller. A ton of them are the 864 footprint that we have. 3-bed, 1-bath, and it's reglaze the tile in the bathroom, put a new kitchen in, refinish hardwood floors, and paint this thing. Maybe an AC unit. So, I mean, the numbers are there at the 75% ratio pretty easily. It beats the 1% rule. It's probably like probably a 1.2 to 1.3% rule on rentals. So yeah, we're showing it tomorrow at 12. Let me know if you want to be there.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing it, man. That's
No
awesome.
problem. Thanks, guys.
And what are you asking for it, Nathan? I probably.
54. You're okay.
54.5.
54.5. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and we ran ARV at 100. That goes up to 115, but you probably need a carport or garage at that.
Yeah.
That is
Really
really
cool. Thanks for sharing that, Nathan. And hey, I'm gonna piggyback off that if that's just it's all right.
Do it.
In our lending business, we have a house that
Oh, he froze himself.
Oh,
oop, I tried to share the screen there and I lost you. Did it?
Froze on you, Brian.
try again.
I don't think it's gonna let me.
It's weird. Oh, it did.
Did
Oh,
it?
well, now it's black. I don't know what happened, Brian. That's bizarre. You want me to pull up the Woodson deal?
Yeah, 29, 24.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, we see you now, Brian, or see your screen. Oh, or not. Wow, that's so bizarre.
Breckenridge.
Yeah.
I know that house.
I'm gonna give up.
All right. I've got it.
Susanna, pull it up, but it's one of our borrowers who is struggling with some health issues and stuff, just needs to sell this house as is. It's actually a duplex, a very strange duplex. These two buildings are on one lot. The front one, which at some point in the past was a commercial building, but right now it's just a residential 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit. Rented for $600 a month, and there is somebody living there. And then the one on the left is basically a gutted shell. It needs to be totally redone. But he'll sell the whole thing for 40 grand. So if anybody's interested in a project like that, it is, I don't know, I guess I call it a duplex, but an unusual duplex. Yeah, just reach out to me if anybody has any interest in, I can get you in contact with the seller on the property, but we have the loan on it at the moment, but the guy just wants to sell it as is, so. Yeah.
And it's 2924 Woodson if anyone wants to look it up.
Yeah, Breckenridge Hills.
Yep. Cool. Anyone else have anything they would like to talk about, have a question on, need help with before we wrap up?
Hey, Glennside's under contract.
Woo! That is awesome.
It kind of goes with a little bit about the market talk earlier. I think we showed that a couple weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Man, we probably had 20 or 30 showings. We had an open house. I think my agent said there were 60 or 70 people that came through there, but it was crickets for 2 weeks, not a single offer. And we were going to reconvene after about 2 weeks on market on a Thursday, maybe consider a price drop. But the showings kept coming. And we ended up in a 2-offer situation on Saturday. That, again, it only takes one, right? And it was full price, very clean contract. And then we had notified the showings that were still kind of coming through on Saturday because we had a 9 p.m. response deadline. And whoever had walked it like that morning also wrote a contract. So we got ourselves into a little bit, of a multi-offer situation. Ended up selling for $357, $385. So got over asking price, and it's just a neat story because we're on, not pins and needles, but like you work so hard to put a good product out there, you think it's going to sell. It sits quiet for 2 weeks. And I think Suzanne, you said it a few weeks ago. You said, you've been seeing it not the first weekend, but the second weekend. And that's exactly what happened. And it just took that one offer, and then we could start leveraging them with an escalation clause against each other, and came out with a real clean contract. We're closing on the 30th of this month. So quick close too.
That is awesome. I love that story, John. It's a freaking weird market. And the fact that, I mean, you put out a beautiful product, and you still got over ask for a house that sat for a couple weeks is really awesome.
Yeah.
Real quickly,
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
no, I just have real quick. Could you just reframe here a little bit, because I had to get in the car and go. So you said you didn't have any activity for 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden it opened up?
Yeah, I mean, activity as far as like showings and open house were consistent, but not a single offer or contract
Not
until
offered.
this past Saturday. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it is strange. I have 2 units for sale. I can't sell the one to save my life, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely brand new. It's 3 blocks down. I sold one in 5 hours. And there's probably some rhyme and reason for it, but yeah, it's aggravating.
So still no offers on Larry? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but I denied them all because they were so low. So this one I'm probably going to take in the shorts. The other one, St. Anthony, I sold. I think we made it available at 3 o'clock on Friday, and by I think I signed everything up by 1 or 12 o'clock the next day, and they're solid. And ironically, they toured Larry and wasn't interested, and then they went to the Anthony location, and we're all excited and paid. One person offered $6,000 over asking, and locked it up immediately. And so it's just frustrating for Larry.
Wow. Well,
It
congrats
is
on
crazy.
St. Anthony. Bummer about Larry, but hopefully the right buyer's coming.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take it the shorts on that one. So, but I will happily, because it's part of the education. I got a third one, as you know. We're halfway through. We're pretty excited about where that's headed. So, it all comes out in the wash.
Yeah.
As long as I keep my pants on, we're good.
And Glenside, by the way, was listed on the market.
Whoa, when you bought it? You
Yeah,
bought
that
it off the MLS?
Yeah, we did. We were just first in and had a relationship with the agent. So
All the MLS deals. It's crazy. I mean, Brian, you remember, I mean, the last several years we've had like nothing from the MLS. And it has just been wild. I feel like this year it's really opened up, and there's just all kinds of deals that are MLS deals.
Yeah, John, you're a great example of that. You buy off the MLS a decent amount, don't you?
I've got a really good story if I got a second.
Yeah.
So Oakville 63129 is where I live, and house popped up. It was under, I think I told you about this one, Suzanne, but it was under contract for 275,000. Went through their inspection process and had a failed septic system. And since I'm a septic expert after my flipping Eureka now, I figured, why not? Let's give it a look. So when the original purchaser bailed on the contract due to the inspection report, the seller dropped the price 50 grand, like immediately. So it went from 275 to 225. We walked it, and the numbers made sense at us at 175. And that was the offer that we gave. So it was another 50 under what she was asking. But we kind of knew that she didn't want to fix it. She wanted to wash her hands of the deal, and it needed to be updated. So the numbers had to make sense for us. They countered at 195. And I said, look, we're still at 175, but we can do 2-week close. We can pay cash. Like, we just try to incentivize it. So we end up getting that one for 175. So what it tells me is that there's a buyer out there that thought it was a good deal at 275 as is. And the only reason they bailed was because it had a failed septic. So we're going through the septic and MSD kind of situation right now, but it's $100,000 discount off of what somebody else on a retail side was willing to pay for it. So we're still unsure about the exit strategy, but there's another deal that was on the market. And we saw the activity and the drop. We saw the motivation, had the conversation to figure out what they wanted to do with it and why they're washing their hands of it. It's 4-side brick, clean house. On almost 3/4 of an acre on a cul-de-sac. So
very cool. That's an awesome story.
Do you still have a possible buyer for it, or
on the fence?
Might be
it might be a little bit more work than they want to do for right now, but worst case scenario, I think we're gonna probably throw it out there on the market for 5 days and see what it does once we fix what's necessary. And then worst case, we'll either rehab it or I may even take down my first rental. So we'll see.
Nice. I do want to put a little plug on here. If anyone has a deal in St. Charles County that they are wanting to sell, or in like Hazelwood West Schools, Bridgeton, Maryland Heights, we're looking for a house to personally buy to fix up and keep as a rental. So if anyone has anything, not Normandy for us at the moment, but if anyone has anything, let me know. That would be awesome. All right. Well, we are at 1 o'clock, so we are going to wrap up. But if anyone needs anything from us, never hesitate to reach out to Rachel, Brian, or I, or anyone else on our team.
Can I give a plug for next week really quick?
Yes, please do a plug for next week.
So next week, we're going to have a kind of a, I don't know, I think it's kind of going to be a fun one. So if you're available next Wednesday and you have any interest in managing your properties better, jump on the call. Because we're going to have our property management team, Greater STL Rentals, just go through. Each one of the members of on our team are just going to go through what their role is in the company and how they do their role, from marketing to tenant screening to managing maintenance, accounting, all that type of stuff. So if you're interested in property management and making your property management better, jump on the call next week.
And we don't manage for other people, just ourselves. So we're just we're not doing a sales pitch. We're just genuinely sharing how to run an awesome property management company.
Do you guys do midterm rentals? Does that do? I'm just curious.
Nope, we don't.
No? Okay.
We like long-term rentals, so.
Yep. Midterm rentals are great for right people. It's just not our gig.
Yeah.
See you.
Cool. Well, hopefully we see you guys next week. We do this every Wednesday at noon. I appreciate you all for joining, and we'll see you then. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.